You know, many of us say, "I'm tired." We say it after a long day, after heartbreak, after disappointment, after trying to keep it all together. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what kind of tired am I? Because not every kind of exhaustion is physical. Some of you aren't tired because of what you've been doing, you're tired because of what you've been carrying. You're not exhausted from activity, you're exhausted from misalignment. Your soul has been trying to function on an empty connection, and no amount of sleep or vacation can fix what only faith can restore. When your heart drifts away from the one who created it, everything else starts to feel heavier. The smallest tasks drain you. The simplest decisions overwhelm you. You wake up and already feel like you're behind. And so, you convince yourself you just need more rest, more distraction, more escape. But what your soul is truly crying out for is not rest from work, it's rest from chaos, it's rest from trying to live without purpose. It's rest from pretending you're fine when you're actually falling apart inside. There's a kind of tiredness that no nap can cure. It's the fatigue of a soul disconnected from its source. We live in a world that glorifies hustle but neglects harmony. We fill our schedules but starve our hearts. We scroll endlessly, comparing our lives to others, and then wonder why we feel drained, anxious, and unfulfilled. The truth is, peace doesn't come from achieving more. It comes from aligning your inner world with your divine purpose. You can't heal spiritual fatigue with physical rest. You need a deeper restoration, the kind that only comes when you remember His name, when you call upon Him not out of habit but out of hunger, when you stop running from the silence and allow yourself to be still in His presence. When you begin to realign, something incredible happens. The same challenges that used to break you no longer hold the same power. The same storms that once left you trembling now become reminders that He is near. That's the difference between tiredness and alignment. When your soul is aligned, your body can be weary, but your spirit feels alive. You might have long days, but you carry peace within you. You might face difficulties, but they no longer define your emotional state, because you've found your anchor, your resting place, and it's not in comfort, not in escape, but in connection. Some of us think peace is something we stumble upon once everything else is fixed, but peace is not the absence of problems, it's the presence of divine order within you. It's when you finally stop running from your truth, when you face the emptiness, and instead of numbing it, you fill it with faith. You begin to speak to your heart gently. You tell it, it's okay to let go. It's okay to rest in something greater than myself. And the moment you allow that surrender, you realize that your exhaustion was never from effort, it was from resistance. Resistance to trust, to believe, to surrender, to pause. You were tired not because you did too much, but because you carried too much that wasn't yours to carry. You tried to play God in your own life, and it broke you. But when you find rest in His name, you remember who the real controller is, and suddenly, everything you were forcing begins to flow. So maybe, just maybe, you're not tired, you're misaligned, and the cure isn't to stop moving, it's to start moving in the right direction. Because the soul that remembers its source never truly feels weary. It may bend under the weight of this world, but it never breaks, because it has found rest in the only place it was ever meant to rest, in His name. You see, discipline is often misunderstood. People hear the word and immediately think of restriction, of rigidity, of something that limits freedom. But the truth is, real discipline is not about limitation, it's about liberation. It's the bridge between where you are and where peace lives. You can't expect peace if your life has no order. You can't expect clarity when your mind is full of chaos. And you can't expect rest when your days are ruled by distractions. Many of us say we want peace, but our habits, our routines, and our focus invite everything except peace. We live in a world that glorifies comfort and convenience, yet complains about anxiety and emptiness. We scroll endlessly, sleep late, neglect prayer, skip reflection, and then ask, why do I feel so lost? But peace isn't something that randomly appears, it's built through daily choices. It's built through discipline, every small act of control, every moment of saying no to what weakens your soul, and yes to what strengthens it, brings you closer to divine tranquility. Discipline is not a punishment. It's a promise to your future self that you won't abandon what truly matters just because the present feels difficult. When you live undisciplined, life feels heavy and unpredictable. You start your day with noise and end it with emptiness. You allow your emotions to dictate your direction, and you wonder why you keep ending up in the same dark places. But when you develop disciplined, spiritual, emotional, and mental, you create space for peace to dwell. You begin to take back control of your mind, your time, and your energy. You stop reacting to life and start responding with purpose. Discipline teaches you that peace isn't the absence of struggle. It's the ability to stay grounded within struggle. Some people think faith alone will fix everything, but faith without structure becomes fragile. You can pray for peace, but if your habits contradict your prayers, you'll never feel it. You can ask for strength, but if you keep feeding your weaknesses, you'll stay stuck. Discipline is the alignment between your prayers and your actions. It's how you show God you're serious about what you're asking for. You don't just say, "I want peace." You create an environment where peace can exist. And yes, discipline can feel uncomfortable at first. It requires saying no to instant gratification, to the easy path, to the distractions that promise relief but deliver regret. It asks you to wake up when your body wants to sleep, to reflect when your mind wants to wander, to pray when your ego wants control. But the more you practice it, the more freedom you find, because discipline is the language of self-respect. It's how you honor your purpose, how you protect your peace, and how you keep your heart anchored in the right direction. There's a deep connection between order and inner calm. When you organize your time, your intentions, your worship, your thoughts, you're not being strict, you're being kind to yourself. You're saying, "I refuse to let chaos dictate my peace." The more disciplined you become, the lighter your soul feels. You stop chasing validation from people and start seeking fulfillment from within. You stop confusing exhaustion with effort and learn that true rest comes when your mind and actions are aligned with your higher purpose. You're not tired because life is unfair. You're tired because your lack of discipline keeps you running in circles. Once you take control of your habits, you'll discover that the strength you've been begging for was always within you, waiting for you to choose consistency over comfort. Peace is not something you find. It's something you create through order, through devotion, through disciplined living. Because at the end of the day, peace doesn't belong to the undisciplined heart. It belongs to the one that has learned how to train itself to move with purpose, to act with intention, and to rest in divine alignment. There comes a moment in every person's life when you realize that no amount of control can protect you from pain, uncertainty, or loss. You've tried to fix everything, to hold everything together, to plan every step, and yet somehow life still unfolds in ways you never expected. That's when the truth hits. Rest doesn't come from having control, it comes from letting go of it. The more you fight to hold everything in your hands, the heavier it feels. But the moment you surrender, when you stop struggling to force outcomes and start trusting divine wisdom, something inside you softens. That is where real rest begins, in surrender, not in control. Surrender doesn't mean you stop caring or stop trying. It means you finally accept that you're not the author of the story, you're the traveler within it. You still make effort, you still show up, but you no longer demand that life bend to your will. You stop asking why me, and begin asking what is this teaching me. You stop seeing surrender as weakness and start seeing it as wisdom. It takes courage to let go, especially when everything inside you wants to hold on. But holding on to what's breaking you doesn't make you strong, it makes you tired. Letting go, that's where strength begins to grow. We've been taught that control equals safety, but in truth, control is often just fear in disguise. We think if we plan enough, if we predict enough, if we do enough, maybe we can prevent disappointment. But no matter how tightly you grip, life will still happen. People will change, moments will pass, and outcomes will surprise you. The peace you're searching for won't come from mastering every detail of your life. It will come from trusting the one who already has. Surrender is the realization that you are not in charge of everything. And that's not a loss, it's a relief. When you stop trying to control every outcome, you begin to live with lighter hands and a freer heart. You stop forcing things that aren't meant for you and stop resisting what's meant to shape you. You learn to breathe again, to flow with life instead of fighting against it. The storms don't stop coming, but you stop being afraid of them because you've found an anchor deeper than circumstance. You've found rest not in perfect outcomes, but in perfect trust. And that trust transforms everything. It's easy to surrender when things are going your way, but the real test comes when nothing makes sense, when prayers seem unanswered and your patience feels thin. That's when surrender becomes an act of faith. You whisper, "I don't understand, but I trust you." And in that moment, even though nothing outside you has changed, something profound shifts inside. Your heart unclenches, your mind quiets, you feel a strange, indescribable calm because you've finally stopped trying to play a role that was never yours to play. You've given back what was never meant to be carried alone. True rest isn't found in escaping life's storms, but in learning who controls the winds. You start to see that surrender doesn't mean you lose. It means you stop losing yourself to fear, to anxiety, to exhaustion. You stop living in resistance to what is and start finding gratitude in what could be. That's when life starts to feel lighter, not because the weight disappeared, but because you've handed it over to the one who can carry it far better than you ever could. Because rest begins the moment you stop striving to manage everything and simply say, "I trust." And when you reach that point of surrender, you'll realize that peace was never missing. It was just waiting for you to stop fighting long enough to feel it again. When the heart begins to realign with faith, when the soul finally understands that rest is not found in escape but in surrender, that's when rebuilding truly begins. And rebuilding doesn't happen overnight. It's not a sudden transformation. It's a process, one shaped by purpose, guided by prayer, and held together by patience. We all want instant peace, instant healing, instant answers. But divine timing doesn't operate on our impatience. Growth is quiet, gradual, and often uncomfortable. Yet every step taken with sincerity, every act rooted in discipline, brings you closer to the life your soul was always meant to live. Rebuilding starts with intention. You have to decide that you no longer want to live on autopilot, that you're done letting your emotions, fears, or distractions dictate your direction. You begin to design your days around purpose, not pressure. You wake up with gratitude, you move with awareness, and you protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Purpose gives you clarity, and when your actions are tied to meaning, even the smallest task feels fulfilling. It's no longer about doing more, but about doing what matters. You start letting go of the unnecessary noise, the people, habits, and patterns that drain you, and you create room for what nourishes your spirit. But intention alone is not enough. It has to be sustained through prayer. Prayer is not a ritual, it's a relationship. It's where your restless thoughts find rhythm, where your fears meet understanding, and where your burdens find release. When you make prayer the center of your life, it realigns everything else. It teaches you humility, reminds you of perspective, and fills you with strength even when life feels uncertain. Sometimes the answer isn't what you prayed for, but what you needed to grow. And that realization is part of the rebuilding, trusting that every delay, every redirection is divine wisdom at work. Then comes patience, perhaps the hardest part of all. We live in a generation that craves results, quick success, instant validation, overnight change. But the soul doesn't heal on a schedule. Peace grows slowly, just like light at dawn. Patience is what transforms faith from belief into trust. It's the art of waiting without resentment, of moving without rushing. It's understanding that everything beautiful takes time. You can't force flowers to bloom before their season, and you can't force your peace before your heart is ready to receive it. When purpose, prayer, and patience merge, Your entire being begins to change. You stop reacting to chaos and start responding with calm. You stop chasing temporary highs and start valuing long-term fulfillment. You find joy in small things, strength in silence, and wisdom in waiting. The discipline you once resisted becomes your freedom, the surrender you once feared becomes your strength, and the rest you once searched for becomes your constant state of being. Life doesn't suddenly become easy, but you do become anchored in something eternal, something unshakable. This rebuilding is not about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you were meant to be before the world tired you, distracted you, and disconnected you from peace. Every prayer whispered, every moment of restraint, every act of discipline is shaping you into someone whose rest doesn't depend on circumstance, but on connection. Because when your foundation is faith, no loss can destroy you, and no hardship can unbalance you. You move through life with quiet strength, knowing that whatever comes, you are exactly where you need to be. And that's the beauty of finding rest in His name. It's not the end of your struggle, it's the beginning of your transformation.